I'd been trekking in the north already for a number of days straight and camping out at night as I made my way to the northern part of Shvil Israel, the Israel National Trail. This is a trail stretching over 1,000 kilometers from the foot of the Hermon, zigzagging east and west, dragging you up and back down the major mountains along the way, and finally finishing down by Eilat all the way in the south. This particular day, the trail was taking me up the incredibly steep incline of Har Tavor, which is not directly related here to this parak, but you'll see where I'm getting at in a moment. With my big heavy trekking backpack on my back, I climbed step by step up this difficult incline. But looking up after around 15 to 20 minutes, it seemed I still hadn't made even a dent in the climb. I took a breather for a moment, and then I turned around and looked back. Wow, I couldn't believe how far I had already climbed. When I was looking forward at how much I still had left to do, it seemed almost insurmountable. But when I took a brief look back at how far I'd already come, I was filled with strength and encouragement to keep climbing. My friends, I just had to take a moment to say that I can't tell you how proud I am of you. Yes, we still have a ways to go, and yes, every time we conquer one peak, we have to seek out the next one and the next after that so that we always continue to climb higher and higher in our limited time here in this world. But take a moment to look back and give yourself a pat on the back. Look how far you've come. I say this now as I was thinking the most natural thing to talk about regarding the geography of this parak is the significance of Chatzor, Megiddo, and Gezer. But you already know that. You know that each of these guarded important junctions and strategic passages along the crucial international route, the Via Maris, which bridged between the empires of Mesopotamia and Egypt. You know already about how important this route was because of the trade coming through them that can be taxed specifically by the narrow passages and the imperial armies that will want to pass through. Just think for a moment how you would have read that pasuk even a few months ago, and what happens when you read it today. You're really doing great. Putting together the pieces of the puzzle from this parak, which has lots of geography from the far north by Chatzor all the way down to Etzion Gavar by Eilat in the south. David HaMelech expanded the kingdom to the Gvulot HaAvtacha, the promised borders in the Torah. Shlomo HaMelech really reaches to turn the kingdom into a regional power. He marries the daughter of foreign officials, including Mitzrayim, in order to create treaties, taking control of the crucial international route of the Via Maris with its various key strategic junctions, which he can then use for taxing those wishing to pass through, building up the important route up to the mountains of the upper and lower Beit Haron, which guard the Beit Haron ascent, and even with Yerushalayim itself, he builds up the Milo, bridging the royal corridor and his new palaces with the area of Har HaBayit, filling some of the gap that's been left there from the times of David HaMelech. On the one hand, we have a beautiful sign of wanting to come ever closer to Hashem and have the leadership draw from the spiritual flow of the Beis HaMikdash. But on the other, there's a danger here as well. Back to this at a later time. He stretches the kingdom in the south down to Etzion Gavar by Eilat. Here too we begin to see a pattern where he has his own people working together with Hiram on the ships. This will be important later, but for now, we can clearly see how Shlomo is expanding the area of influence and trying to spread the word of the greatness of Hashem. I remember in 8th grade we had a Rebbe who was particularly talented in basketball, Rabbi Gershon Kramer. It was really great for helping him connect with his Talmidim. I think it's very safe to say that his talents in basketball were used for sanctifying Hashem's name. Later on, in a discussion with one of the Rebbeim in high school, one of the students exclaimed how being really good at basketball when playing with the local goyim is a real Kiddush Hashem. And Rabbi kind of laughed. That's not a Kiddush Hashem. As a side, maybe today's professional ball players who keep the mitzvot can certainly be a Kiddush Hashem to their Jewish fans if they show how you can continue to staunchly serve Hashem, live Torah life, and act as a mensch despite the position where most come to gaiva and low places. It's a dangerous place, but perhaps can be seen as a Kiddush Hashem in such an instance. But that's not what we're discussing here. That's talking about an important message to the Jewish people. When the rabbi laughed, it's because showing the world that we think that we can be just as good at them at their silly games has nothing to do with Kiddush Hashem. Showing the world how we excel at what's important to us is what it's about. Being honest, being a mensch, a bal chesed, a good human being, that's showing what a Torah Yid is supposed to look like. Yes, it's important to show this to the Goyim, and even more important, to show it to our fellow Jewish brothers and sisters. That the more Torah you learn, the more you exemplify good midos. As we learn from Mesilat Yesharim, the two, however, don't always go hand in hand. It has to be through a consistent, conscious effort to improve our midos. I have a very long way to go, but whenever I look to learn from someone, no matter how big a Talmid Chacham, I've always been very, very turned off by signs of if their midos don't seem to match their stature. To me, there's simply something so terribly missing there. Chachma is wonderful, but it isn't everything. We don't have to beat them at their own game and try to impress them. Who cares what the world thinks when they can't even figure out anymore the difference between a boy and a girl? We should strive to learn from the nekudot of light in everything and everyone, but we certainly don't go by their morals or their value scale. We've been placed in the center of the world precisely so that everyone would hear of us. So despite being a tiny country in population, the world really is obsessed with us. Unfortunately, it's usually not for good reasons. The more we try to impress them by being more careful with their skewed morals in place of our own, the more they hate us and degrade us as our enemies take advantage of this incredible weakness. But the potential is there to spread the real light of the Torah from Zion. Imagine what the world would look like if the place everyone was consistently hearing of is a place where people truly exemplified good midos. If as individuals and as a society, we were constantly working on improving our own behavior and interactions. There really is so much of this already in Israeli society. It's not everywhere, and isn't always on the surface. But you're much more likely to have someone stop and help you without even asking, to have a lost item returned, to have a random person stand up and protect you if needed. There really is so much good. Yes, like anywhere, there are also some that don't exemplify particularly good midos most of the time, and they're usually the loud ones. But we can change the feel and perception if we live the way we want the world to look.